Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. I hope everyone's having a really good day today. I really do. Okay, well, it's going to be really hard to say goodbye to Miss LaShawn Massey for me because, you know, I one of the main motivating factors, actually, I can just say that crime victims, I have, they live in my heart. God put that particular calling. He gave me that calling and he gave me that reason for being. He gave me a special place in my heart for crime victims or victims of circumstance, people that go missing and we never get the answer that we want. But the the true reality of everything is that I can already tell that Miss LaShawn Massey is starting to fade away and will become pretty much by the rest of the world probably forgotten. And that's normal because, I didn't know her. A lot of people didn't know her. But she's one of those victims to me, and I will continue to categorize her as a victim because we really don't know what happened to her. And regardless of how she died and what the circumstances were, whether it was an accident, which doesn't seem likely to me. So there's really no, clear cut way to, in my mind, and I'm sure in her family's, there's just not going to be any true resolution other than we all know that she is with Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, God and Holy Spirit in heaven. And that's where the true relief comes in. But in that matter, victims have a special place in my heart. I think about them long after the media has forgotten and moved on to something new. And I just don't ever want them to be forgotten because, you know, uh, she had a special place in the world, and it's one that is remarkable, one of remarkable accomplishments. And I just can't, I'm going to have to let her go, but I probably never will ever forget her. And she's one of those people that I would have just been so happy to meet and be inspired by anyway. So that's why I do what I do. Okay, well, and I feel this way about pretty much all crime victims. And it is a crime in a way that what happened to her, her fate, the fate that befell her, it is it is a crime. It's a shame. It's a shame at the very least. And I may not ever be able to totally accept what the coroner is going to, the toxicology reports come out, or the cause of death. Those things aren't going to really, they're not going to really help, I'm sure, her family or anyone to put it to bed because it's just such a tragedy on such a large level, on such a large scale. Okay, so I ran across Miss Massey. Well, I don't know that this is LaShawn uh, actually walking around the lake, but I want y'all to see the security video was taken on the 27th of April at 6:04 a.m. And it's kind of disturbing that, you know, obviously we don't have, I'm really beginning to question whether any of the Ring video or all the other home security devices, and if there was any type of like security video mounted anywhere, I'm beginning to really doubt that there was anything that comprehensive, because I think that uh, we would know a little bit more. We would know a lot more than what we know right now. And if this video is any indicator, all you can tell is a small uh, little figure, like a little dot, walking around the lake. However, it doesn't, the video is very short. And if she was out, from the time of 5 in the morning, if this is all the video that there is of any individual at all walking around the lake, then something's really wrong. Apparently there were other witnesses. I don't see them on foot. I would imagine she would have made multiple passes around this walking area and around that lake. And so far, unless the police have kept it all, we have this short 31-second window of someone walking around the lake at 6:04. My question would be, are there any other videos that predate this to establish her routine, to establish, exactly what her walks entailed and how fast she moved and how many times she, went around the lake, if there were any other people out there with her, just to establish that routine, to kind of give us a baseline on where and when she would normally appear in a security cam video. So let's go ahead and play this. Okay, it's going to be between, if you look straight into the video, there's a little open clearing and you're going to see someone walking. Here we go, right there, smack dab in the middle. We can't tell anything about who that is. And then she kind of or he or she disappears a little bit. And then there she goes to the very far right, if that is her, if that is indeed her. And we're never going to know. We're never going to know who that was. But, obviously someone was walking around that water. However, my question is, it just doesn't make any sense to me that that's the only person that was out there walking, and she was out there from 5 to 7:30. 5 to 7:30. And that's all the video? And it looks awfully barren and desolate out there. And that's that's way too early for a woman by herself to go out walking at 5 in the morning. A lot of predators are laying in wait still that early. They go hunting. That's how they think. And uh, if that's all the video they have, I do not see how on earth that they can come out and say, uh, I don't see her getting in and out of the water, but of course this may not be the right vantage point for it. I there's really no telling. So it's just one of those things where I just don't know if any of this is ever going to come, any of this is going to even help. I don't see how any of this could really help. All it establishes is that there was someone walking by themselves. And if there were witnesses and, we've heard that, where were they in the video? And where is all this video that can put all of this to rest and say that she was coming in and out of the water? Another thing that really bothered me was the fact that, she was getting ready for that pageant, but a woman with this gorgeous long hair that was shiny and long and getting to be pageant ready, a woman would not get into that horrible lake, which I'm calling it that because it had a 90-foot drop, 85 to 90-foot drop. It had, in that lake, there was signage posted everywhere, and it had just like a little bit of coast. It had like probably a foot maybe or two underneath, of like, I guess, a submerged beach, like maybe 1 or 2 feet, and then it dropped. So that is a massive, massive drop. Massive drop. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of it. That's just that lake was not conducive for taking a swim, early morning swim in your. That's really not what I want. Let me see if I can find. Is any of this it? You know what? I can tell you that I found it. I think it was in part of this video. Let me see what happened.
In watching Dr. Stanley all these years, he's still speaking the truth about hearing the voice of God and obedience. There's nothing added to.
I'm just going to wait till that plays a little bit. I'm just not sold on story that they're being peddled. Okay. I wanted you to see the picture of the lake.
Members of a missing 38-year-old North Texas woman are arriving in North Texas to do what they can in the search for a missing North Texas beauty queen. That's 38-year-old LaShawn Massey. She disappeared Tuesday.
I just don't want to get a copyright.
Days since his wife went missing.
How? There's so many people out here walking. How do we not have any information?
LaShawn Massey's husband, Jeff, addressing his neighbors Wednesday night.
Give me something to give my wife back.
He says for 2 years his wife has started her days by running around the small lake by their house. When she...
Okay, I'm just going to give it a break here.
Witnesses later told police that they saw her walking in the lake. Crews searched the water but found nothing and still no leads.
I'm just not going with the scenario that she's in the lake.
This morning, Massey...
Okay, I haven't seen him shed one tear, just to let y'all know. I haven't seen his eyes red. I haven't seen him.
Too much going for her to ever walk away.
But LaShawn was always the one that stood out, and she always was the smartest.
I'm just trying to keep from getting a copyright.
Reigning Mrs. Dallas with plans to compete in the upcoming Mrs. Texas pageant.
We're all concerned. We all want to help.
Massey's neighbors say they're doing everything they can.
I'm just doing this to keep a copyright.
With her picture on trees, hoping someone will spot her.
We ask and command that she be returned whole, healthy.
Prayer, hoping she'll return home safely. In Irving, Aaron Jones, CBS 11 News.
Okay, and I don't. I'm just having a hard time with the husband's he just doesn't strike me as someone that's crying. That's just not somebody who's crying to me. Those seem to be a case of crocodile tears. And, and I don't know for sure, but I can tell by what I'm looking at that expression was not one of just the mess that you would be in. I just didn't see any tears. His eyes weren't red. It's just strange. Okay, so I'm still also a little troubled by she knows how much I love her and how much I cherish her. Um, that particular response is almost like shifting the blame over to her. This puts the ball back in her court. Like, why, whatever happened, she knows how much I love and how much I cherish her. She knows how much I love and cherish her. So that's almost like I feel like he's casting blame on her, and I don't know. It just doesn't fit. That response is almost like, I don't want to say he's admonishing her, but it's like he's got the mindset. It's almost like he's got the mindset of, or he may be trying to portray the mindset to throw people off guard that, I've made it really clear to her how much I love her and how much I cherish her. It's just really strange. It's just the whole thing really kind of reeks, in my opinion. And then the other thing that I didn't mention last time, it says here that Massey said for the last 2 years his wife had taken a walk. This is right after she went missing, by the lake and checks in. Okay, she checks in, but then when he didn't hear from her, he got worried. So at 7:15, he texted her, he gave her a call, and she didn't answer. So at the time, I found our security guard down here and said that they had seen her or somebody over in the canal. Well, that he's letting us know what the security guard supposedly said. We don't know for sure if that's what the security guard said. He may have, but that's coming from Massey. And so I guess when those two went over there, no one was there. Okay, so I know that took place. I've read, this is more conflicting times, but he says when they went out to check the area, no one was there. But I thought the security guard just got there and got through saying in the other articles we've read that he did see somebody. Yeah, he had seen her or somebody, which I've already been over all of that, over in the canal. So what happened during that time? And the neighbors say it's unlike that she would suddenly vanish. Well, of course, it's unlike anybody to just suddenly vanish. Why would it be unlike her to suddenly vanish? And then he goes on to say, or the neighbor goes on to say that, my fear is that something bad happened to her. I don't think there was just some sort of accident that happened. Whatever that accident would be, I don't even know what they're alluding to in terms of an accident, other than she fell in and she couldn't swim and she drowned. But we've got the reports that she came in and out of the water. And then the father said he didn't think she was in the water. She had too much going for her to ever walk away and not come back. she had just done a podcast on YouTube a month before all of this. I don't think the surveillance video has produced anything because we would already have been told that she submerged herself and drowned herself. I really truly believe that. I don't think they've got the footage that they thought they had. And if it's anything like that footage that I just showed y'all, it's not doing any good. It was dark. So, I really wanted to take a look at the husband a little bit. I just didn't think that I saw any real tears or his eyes were red. And then that chair that he put out and posted out front, the chair that he sat in was like, I don't want to say a high dollar chair, but it was one that you would sit in maybe to watch a movie. It was just kind of a fancy, upscale designer looking chair. It wasn't like a folding chair. It wasn't like he just sat on the grass. It was just odd to me. It was odd to me. It was an upscale chair looking chair, piece of furniture, high dollar piece of furniture that he took from the house to go sit out there. So, I know that if she is, when I know, of course, that she's obviously going to have been drowned. She drowned, right? But we just don't know the circumstances of the drowning. And, I think I mentioned earlier by the canal, you know, there just wasn't any, there was a bridge that went over the canal, but but the security guard, or according to Massey, said that the security guard said that she was in the canal. I gave her a call and she didn't answer, so I found her security guard down here and said that they had seen her or somebody over in the canal. In the canal. I saw that canal. I think I mentioned it on the last video. It was just basically a large trench full of water. And there was a bridge that went over it. So he is stating now, this is multiple times that I've read this, that he saw her or somebody over in the canal. Now, there was a grassy area, okay, that the canal was like in a big, it looked like kind of a trench or a gully full of water, and then there was just a grassy area around it. I don't believe that she was walking along or anywhere near that canal. I just don't. It was not a place that you could get your footing. It was at an angle, and you're not going to be able to walk without twisting your ankle over there. So this person apparently had seen her or somebody over in the canal. So that wasn't on the bridge, it wasn't around the canal, it wasn't along the edge of the canal, it was in the canal. Okay, well, I don't really want to drag this out. I really don't want to drag this out any longer, other than, the husband here again says he doesn't believe his wife is in the lake. If he didn't believe his wife was in the lake, why was he sitting out there in that upscale, posh looking fancy chair? He thinks someone has done something. Okay, so, the husband says he thinks somebody has done something. And if he really believed that, I just don't, like I said, I just don't think he'd be sitting there. I just don't think he'd be sitting there. And I don't know how how he would have done anything. I just don't get the 2.5 hour time frame that she was out there, and that he didn't get into it before he did anything else with that security guard Why didn't he just get into his vehicle and start driving around? And he could have alerted the security guard, gotten into his vehicle, started driving around and hollering out the window, or call, alerted the security guard. He went and got him. Why he didn't call the police? Oh, he did call the police. And then after he did those two things, then get into your vehicle, or even do that from your vehicle while you are driving around trying to find your wife, you know. And in other things that we've read, he talked about all the reasons she had, for not up and leaving, but he never did mention the children. And I thought that was odd. I haven't found where he mentioned the children. And that would have been probably the first thing that I would expect somebody to mention. She has two beautiful young boys, but everything is just geared around this pageant. So, I just don't know that we're ever going to get the answer unless they do the autopsy and find out something else. Uh, Probably going to just get it that she drowned and it was an accident. I know her funeral is going to be coming up, I believe, next week, or it could be this week, later on this week. But you know what? It's so hard to say goodbye to her. She's somebody I would have loved, like I said, I would have loved to have met her. And I guess that's how I feel about most victims. Actually, really, pretty much all crime victims, all victims. You know, whether or not she was a crime victim, my gut instinct kind of tells me, yeah. My gut instinct tells me, yeah, somebody did something to this beautiful creature. But I really feel and have a tremendous amount of love for all of them, because I know what it's like to be at the mercy of someone who doesn't care anything about your life or your circumstances or your potential or your past accomplishments or just your pretty smile. Nothing. It's just a senseless, it's just a senseless uh, loss. It's just a senseless loss. So I'm pretty much going to go ahead and give up the ghost, I think, with Miss LaShawn. It was a pleasure knowing all the wonderful things about her. And I am going to go ahead and read her book and see if there's just anything else that I can learn or glean from that. Um, just to find out more about her. And what I have read so far, there's a dedication page, which is incredibly generous and thoughtful. And the book goes into her early life, growing up in Arkansas, living on a farm with her grandmother. She called her granny. And it said that, LaShawn talks about in her book that she really struggled with the morning hours, that she just wasn't a morning person, that her energy was low, and that her granny had to wake her up extra early. There was a house full of kids, and because it took her longer to get ready in the morning. And so her sweet granny got her up a little bit earlier so she could get in there. So, because they ended up all fighting over the bathroom, and you know how it is. And to be that her grandmother made sure that Miss LaShawn uh, had her clothes ironed and laid out for the next day so she would look beautiful and presentable. And she just had like a beautiful house that the grandmother had a beautiful home kind of out in the woods, in Arkansas. And it was real pretty out in the country. And LaShawn really liked that. It was like wooded, and she really loved that. So, she's a very sensitive, insightful, warm, and loving woman. And I just want to send her off with all of the love in the world. And LaShawn, I wish I could have known you, but what I do know of you, oh, you'll just forever haunt me with your beauty. and warm my soul and remind me that life is really short and that we're not here for very long, and that we definitely go on to such a better place. We get to be with Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, and maybe that's when I'll get the most wonderful chance in the world of meeting you. Okay, everyone. Well, I'm going to be back. There's a few other cases that really have piqued my interest. I don't want any victim to ever get forgotten. I really don't. And if you ever know any that are still living, they do like to talk about every now and then what's happened to them. And they do need extra love, extra TLC, and extra self-care. I need to be reminded that they're just as good a person now as they were before whatever happened, and that they are special people. And the world really does need them, still need them and want them, because we have so much we can learn from each and every one of them. Okay, everyone. Well, I pray that all of you are having a good evening and you have a good night. And just to remind you to check on those that you know to make sure they're okay on the inside and the out. All right, everyone. Have a good night. And I'll see you guys real soon. Take care. Okay, bye-bye.